So I really do kind of not only want to see them killed in the water, whether they're on the boat or in the water, but I'd really like to see them suffer. I would like Trump and Hegseth to make it last a long time so that they lose a limb and bleed out a little. Like, I'm really having a difficult time ginning up sympathy for these guys who 10 seconds earlier almost got taken out by the initial bomb, but because they managed to get ejected, a little too soon, had to be taken out in the water. I realize legally it may make a difference, but truly, Mark, this is a tough case to really gin up the sympathies of the American people.
Yeah.
Really? A guy clinging onto a boat, the wreckage of a boat, who, even if everything that's being alleged is true, is participating in a crime that does not call for capital punishment.
And the people in the boats are not like the drug bosses who live, who are like living the life.
They're not. And, if you really wanted to fight the drug war, one, you'd focus on money laundering. Two, that was the main thing. You'd focus on the banks. That's what you would do. Two, you would follow them to see where they were going to establish what the trail is and who they're passing it off to. And I think that's the way you do police work. You don't, I don't know. I've never ran a drug interdiction operation, but it's just the coarsening of morality. It's just she's not talking about doing that to the Sackler family, that's for sure.
Right.
But it's just the coarsening, to see the blood and that I think is a good example of the way in which there's a sense that what Trump is where Trump does differ from the whatever you want to call them, the neoliberal consensus before is it's not just spectacle, it's spectacle in the service of an aggrieved nationalism.
Right.
And that's there's always been strong currents of that within the United States, but Trump really represents its blossoming, I think, and taking of power. And so that kind of, you can only celebrate that kind of violence and that kind of cruelty, straight out of a slasher movie. If you previously cultivated a sense of aggrievement, a sense of resentment, and that kind of aggrieved nationalism is what I think also is one of the things that is distinguishable from Trump. You can understand the sources of it in terms of past policy, economic policy, but it's hard to find expressions of it. Even George W. Bush fighting the global war on terror was like, talking about, liberal, bringing, the light,
Yeah, that not all Muslims were evil or something.
Yeah.
Can you just explain really quick how the neoliberal order, though maybe not being as bad as Trump, enables Trump?
Well, I'm just one of these people who think that, if you want to find the origins of Trump, you don't have to look to the Confederacy, and you don't have to look to, Hitler, and what you look at is the deindustrialization of the country, that created a two-tier country in which maybe 35% benefited very well from globalization, and 65% have struggled. I don't think it's not a one-on-one correlation. You're going to find people who have boats and homes and nice cars being Trumpists, but the point of understanding things in terms of political economy is not to say that there's a one-on-one relationship to class interest, but the reconfiguration of the country away from a country that produces things, that's industrialized to some degree, that pays decent wages. And one of the things that's unique about the United States, every country underwent some kind of financial restructuring in the 1970s in reaction to the energy crisis and in reaction to global economic competition. But no country undercut the institutions that could have ameliorated or buffeted that restructuring like the United States did. No country went after unions, went after the welfare state, went after rural small communities the way the United States did. And really kind of, not just creating a much harsher public and everyday life, but doing away with the institutions that could have helped with the transition a little bit more. And I think that accounts for why we're in such a mess. I mean, Clinton, not to blame everything on Bill Clinton, but, NAFTA, the Telecommunications Act, the refusal to regulate finance, the expansion of the police state and the prison system, all of the demonization of immigrants, a lot of the legal mechanisms that the Trump administration uses come straight out of Clinton's legislation, either it be his crime bill or his terrorism bill. That you can go after green card holders if they violate some misdemeanor. A lot of the legal structure was put into place under Clinton, and the deregulation of the media, the Telecommunications Act of 1997. Political scientists have produced studies about this. This has hastened polarization and led to the kind of epistemic confusion and conspiratorialism that have the rise of the pundit class rather than actually news reporting. So there's lots of ways in which I think the order that was put into place after after the Cold War, explains Trump. And then of course you have Iraq, and then you have the economic collapse of 2007 and 2008, combined with the threat of global warming, and I think that leads to the political class that emerged after the Cold War can no longer and believe the stories it was telling itself about how to about governance and it paved the way. I think it created a vacuum of illegitimacy that Trump filled.
Greg, you're always welcome to blame the Clintons for everything on this show. That's what we do here. That's our number one pastime.
Great to talk to you
guys. We should do a weekly segment with you this week in blaming the Clintons.
Yeah, I was thinking of giving up my job and becoming a podcaster.
Yeah, do it. Something that you do very well is, I think, walk the line between these two extremes. One extreme says that Trump is a total aberration and departure. And the other extreme is that Trump is exactly like the Democrats. So I want to show a tweet from Pete Hegseth. And this is something I think you wouldn't see from someone in like a Biden administration. Okay, so Pete Hegseth tweeted this out. It says, for your Christmas wish list, and it's an image of a kid's book, a classic Franklin story, and it's a turtle, and it says, Franklin targets narco-terrorists, and it shows this turtle shooting at boats, and the people in the boats actually are human beings as opposed to turtles, by the way. So this kind of allegedly comedic joy in killing people, how would you describe this? And how does this distinguish perhaps Republicans from Democrats? And how much does this distinction actually matter?